Good evening, all. Thank you very much. You may all be seated. It's good to have every one of you here tonight, here at the People's House. And again, I do apologize for the wait this evening. Before I begin, I want to say a few words of why I'm a little late and what we're doing. And I want to speak a little bit more about what's going on in Israel right now. We continue to monitor the situation in Israel very closely, and the vice president and I and the bulk of my security team spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu again this morning, and I'll be speaking to him a little bit later on this evening. Matter of fact, one of the first things I do in the morning, every morning, I have a morning foreign leader call time. It's first thing on my agenda when I get to the Oval Office, and one of the things I've been doing is reaching out to the Prime Minister and getting an update what's happening over there and what assistance that we can render, be of aid up to Israel. During my meeting with the Jewish American leaders, this attack has brought to the surface the painful memories and scars left by millennia of anti-Semitism and genocide against the Jewish people. And in this moment, we have to be crystal clear. There's no justification for terrorism, no excuse. And the type of terrorism that was exhibited here was just beyond the pale. Beyond the pale, I said yesterday, my commitment to Israel's security and the safety of the Jewish people is unshakable. The United States has Israel's back, and we're going to be working on this all through today and beyond. But again, I apologize for keeping you here waiting this evening. Thank you very much, Becky, for that wonderful introduction and for sharing your story that's familiar to so many families that gets down to a basic problem we're dealing with, a basic circumstance. It's just about fairness. It's about simple fairness. You know, folks, we're being tired of being taken advantage of and being played for suckers. That's why I'm here with the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Ms. Chapa, where you are. Where are you? Stand up there. Thank you very much. Let people see you. And the chair of the Federal Trade Commission, please stand up as well. There are members of the Competition Council that I created to promote competition across the economy and lower costs for families. And I'm not going to introduce everybody, but we wouldn't be getting anywhere without the incredible support of the members of Congress who are here today. And I want to thank each and every one of you today, some of you taking time out of your conference meetings to be here this evening. And we may have to go back and actually change the law, circumstances, and so I'm counting on you. And anyway, would all the members of Congress stand up so everybody here can see you? I want everybody to stand up here. In any fight I'm in, that's the team I want on my side. Look, one of the key things I've asked the council to tackle are the unfair fees, known as junk fees, to those hidden charges that companies sneak into your bill to make you pay more because they can, just simply because they can. Charges that are taking money, real money, out of people's pockets, of Americans' families. These junk fees can add up to hundreds of dollars, weighing down family budgets and make it harder to pay family bills. These junk fees may not matter to the wealthy, but they sure matter to the working folks in homes like the one I grew up back in Texas. I think about it. It's the way my father used to talk. He talked about it in the way he said, many of you look at home, talk about around the kitchen table. I know we do around our dining room table here. It's how much are your monthly bills? And after they're paid, how much do you have left for necessities? Is it enough? And I will tell you this, you know that I speak almost every day about teacher pay. I can tell you it's not enough. Is there any left over? Just to give you a little breathing room, a little bit of breathing room. Well, these junk fees suck up all that breathing room. Among other things, now think of today. How many folks are asking? How many more do they have to pay to cover those hidden junk fees that really add up? Over the past 2 years, let's go ahead and say 3 years. It was 3 years ago Sunday. My administration has taken, with the help of the members of Congress, and a number of steps to crack down on unfair, deceptive junk fees in banking, hotels, concert, airlines, retail housing, and rental housing, cable, internet, healthcare, a whole range of issues, a whole range of them. For example, 2 summers ago, if your flight was canceled or delayed, almost no airline would guarantee you anything other than costing you a fee to rebook that flight. That even if it was their fault, if they canceled because of mechanical issues, they charged you a fee. You had to pay a fee to rebook. Now, 10 airlines rebook for free. And I'm looking to get the law passed so none of them can, and they will have to do that. None of them will. I'm looking at getting a law passed where none of the airlines in our country will no longer charge a fee. That's a win for the consumers. Other companies have also responded to my call for action and adopted so-called all-in upfront pricing. That's where companies fully disclose their fees up front when you start shopping, and there's no real surprise. At the end, when you check out this summer I hosted a business leaders summit here at an event to announce the voluntary changes that companies like Airbnbs and others were making to provide customers with all-in upfront pricing. So there's no surprise. Tens of millions of Americans have already benefited from this, and that's progress. Today, I'm proud to announce that my administration is taking our most comprehensive action ever to eliminate junk fees. And let me just say, junk fees are the first step in this. It's the first step. I want to also, as part of the agenda that I want to address, I also want to start the regulation of these so-called, there's probably a better term for them, but I call them home predators. These people who buy houses in towns that they're not even familiar with. For example, a person in California buying a home in Texas doesn't even know about the city, doesn't even know about the schools, doesn't even know about the economy, just wants to buy the home and flip it. I want that regulated, and I want that controlled, and I want that stopped. In industries and sectors across the board, across the entire economy, if these rules are finalized, they won't just be voluntarily. They'll be made mandatory. And I will do my very best to see that the other rules that we're seeking, such as the limitation of the so-called home predators, that is stopped, folks. It would do more than embarrass a company. It would make them look mandatory. But first, here's how the Federal Trade Commission is proposing a new rule that would ban hidden fees across the economy and require companies to show consumers the all-in pricing up front. That includes what these fees are for, how much they amount to in full, and whether they are refundable. Research shows that without realizing it, folks can end up paying as much as 20% more because of hidden junk fees than they would have paid if they could see the full price up front and compare it with other options. It's so wrong. It is so very wrong, and it's got to stop. Just taking advantage of people, and it makes it harder for honest businesses who are trying to do the right thing. And don't get me wrong, there are the ones out there who abide by the laws, who do the right thing, that are suffering from this. They're trying to compete with dishonest companies who trick customers into thinking their prices are lower when, in fact, they're looking at it. If this proposed rule is finalized, as proposed, the FTC would have the power to impose financial penalties on companies that don't disclose their full upfront pricing and secure refunds for customers who've been defrauded by companies charging hidden fees. And this also goes for the proposal that I'm talking about, these home predators. This kind of gets off what we're talking about, hidden fees, but this is definitely an agenda item that I have on my agenda. These people that are out flipping homes without knowledge of the cities will have to be licensed real estate brokers. They'll have to be upfront and truthful, or they will face massive penalties and massive fines. Second, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, as is banning bank fees and credit unions from charging fees for basic services like checking your account balance. How about that? Checking your account balance and getting charged a fee. Retrieving old bank records or looking up your balance on a loan. You know some banks charge as much as $30 for these services every time you call. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. And today they're making clear that they're making clear, but we're making clear these fees are now illegal. Look, we're not stopping there. There are tens of billions of dollars in other junk fees across the economy, and I've directed my administration to crack down on them as well. For example, later this month, the CFPB will propose another new rule that would require banks to make it easier for customers to switch banks. Some banks have made it really difficult for folks to do so. This new rule would increase competition and defer junk fees. All of these actions are going to make a real difference in people's lives. We've already seen how much today. For example, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau released a report showing that since I took office in October of 2020, nearly 2/3 of the largest banks have eliminated bounce check fees entirely, and that was a lot of money. And by the way, they've calculated these bounce check fees for consumers, and they've actually declined nearly $2 billion. This isn't chump change, folks. That's a lot. $2 billion. That's close to a 90% reduction. We've already secured $140 million in refunds for consumers who were charged legal junk fees by those banks. And look, we're also sending new guidance to every federal agency on how they can promote real competition in their work. You know, as we take these actions, I continue to call on Congress to pass what my friends in the front row here mostly support, the Junk Fee Prevention Act. Hard to say. But all kidding aside, I'm asking Congress to take the action so this makes it a matter of law. Today's actions are part of a broader economic vision to move from a trickle-down economic theory to what everyone in Wall Street has talked about, this new economic theory. And it's about growing the economy not from the top, but from the middle. Last week's jobs report shows that it's working. We've added more than 336,000 jobs last month. Think about that. 336,000 jobs were added. We created more than 19 would be great, but 13,900,000 jobs since I've taken office. That's more than any president ever has in all of history. And that's more than, look at the unemployment rate has stayed below 4% for 20 straight months. It's the longest stretch in 50 years. And inflation continues to fall down, nearly 60% from last summer. And now we have the lowest inflation of any major economy in the world, and we're going to make it lower. And in August, we announced the first 10 prescription drugs that Medicare selected for negotiation under the Inflation Reduction Act. It's a fancy way of saying for many big years, Big Pharma blocked us along the way. They kept prescription drug prices high, and they're still high. They're still high. This actually still needs a lot of work on, but we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. But by it in the New York City and all across the country, people are paying so much money for prescription drugs. I often talk about a dear friend of mine who has to take a prescription drug. It's necessary. It's not an option not to take it. She has to take it. And just the other day, she spent $700 on a refill. $700 on a refill. You tell me Big Pharma's not making billions, if not billions in profits, and you're charging a middle class worker working hard, 80 hours a week, $700 for a prescription. I've been trying to do this for a long time. It's been going on for a long time. None of the women in the front row here have been around for more than 2 or 3 years. But some of the guys here been here for a long time. But all kidding aside, I think about we've been fighting this fight for a long, long, long time. And, we're going to get this done. We are going to get this done. We have a lot of items on our agenda, a lot of good things to do for our country, getting the economy back to where it was, and we're almost there. Think about it. 3 years ago, almost to this date, we were close to 15% unemployment. Today, we're in the threes. I've always said that I wanted a 3% unemployment rate in our country, and we're going to get there. We're going to get there through enhanced unemployment, through the other programs that we'll lay out. We will get to 3% unemployment, and every able-bodied American in this country will have a job. And like I said, today is a start on our junk fees. We're going to make progress in this, and we're going to make it easier for the middle class to be able to pay their bills, to be able to get those ends meet. And think about this. I talk about this a lot about education. For those teachers who put in 80 hours a week in a classroom and barely have enough left over on their monthly paycheck, these eliminations of these junk fees will help improve that. We're also capping total out-of-pocket costs for seniors and Medicare at $2,000 a year, even for expensive cancer drugs that can cost $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a year. No matter what your prescription drug costs are, beginning next year, no matter how much they are, no senior's going to have to pay more than $2,000, and it matters. Look at me close when I say this. When I ran for president, and when I'm running, I promised you we would not continue this trickle-down economic theory in the past, because here's the simple truth. Trickle-down economics represented the moment we walked away from how this country's middle class was built. Not a lot trickled down. In my dad's kitchen table, I always remember those talks about making money, about making the paychecks last and making your money last. And sometimes it was hard, but we did it. But I believe that every American willing to do hard work should be able to achieve that American dream, no matter where they live in every part of the country. That's the American dream. And that's why I honestly say I've never been more optimistic about this America's future. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States for America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity when we work together. So, in closing, I just want to say God bless you. God bless our troops. God bless and take care of our hostages in Israel. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much. Thank you.